the Bible, there's 66 books of the Bible. Now, this is a daunting list. If you want to try and memorize all of these, just 66 books, straight rote memory, if you can do that, congratulations. That's just great. However, the Bible has given us a pattern. There is a pattern of the sections of the Bible that makes it easy to kind of put things in your mind in an order so you can kind of have a framework to hang all of these books on. So let's take a look at that. Now, these are the numbers that you're going to need to kind of commit to memory. 5, 12, 5. 5, 12, 5. 22. That's right. Now, these are the number of books in each section, 7 sections. Pretty biblical, right? 5, 12, 5, 5, 12, 5, 22. Now, I've color-coded these to correspond with the books that are in each section. So let's get to it. There are 2 divisions of the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament. And we have 5 books of the law, 12 books of history, 5 books of writings, 5 of prophets, and the 12, of course, has 12. On the New Testament side, we have the Gospels and Acts and letters to congregations. So those are the 7 sections of the Bible divided into the 2 major sections of the Bible, the Old Testament and the New Testament. So let's take a look at the books of the law. The books of the law, also known as the Pentateuch, also known as the Torah, are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Those are the first 5. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. 5 books of the law. Next we have the books of history. There's 12 here. Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther. These are 12 books of history of Israel. Now, I've broken these up to make them a little bit easier for me to grasp. And I just remember that Joshua, Judges, Ruth comes next. So that's Joshua, Judges, Ruth. Next are the pairs, right? The pair of Samuels, the pair of Kings, the pair of Chronicles. So that's 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles. And then I just used E-N-E as initials. E-N-E. That's Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther. It's a nice little symmetry. Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther. Now, I went really fast there, but as you get to know these, you get kind of a meter to them, and you'll go a little faster. Writings. How many books of the writings are there? That's right, there's 5. Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, and Song of Songs. I'll say those slower. Job, not Job, Job. Psalms, the P is silent. Psalms. Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, the E is long there, and so the I is also E sound, right? Ecclesiastes, and Song of Songs, also in some Bibles as Song of Solomon, but in Hebrew it's Shir Shirim, which means Song of Songs. Next we have the major prophets. Now, this is a designation given to them. There's no really major or minor prophets. They're all just prophets. But these are the larger works of prophets. So Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, and Daniel. They're larger works of prophecy. So there's 5 of those. And then in the Hebrew tradition, all of these next ones have been known as the 12. The 12. And you guessed it, there's 12 of them. Also known as the minor prophets. So Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. So there's 12 of those. Now I've also broken these up into smaller lists to help me, and I remember them in 3 groups of 4. So if we take them in 3 groups of 4, you've got Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. I know that's a mouthful. I'll say it slowly so that you can get it one more time. Hosea, Joel, That one should be pretty easy. Amos, famous Amos, right? You should remember Amos. Obadiah, Jonah, Micah. A lot of people with those names, pretty easy. Nahum, right? Nahum. That's how you say that. In Hebrew, it's Nahum, but Nahum. And then Habakkuk, right? So that one kind of throws people. Habakkuk, you can pronounce it any way that you'd like as far as that goes. You can say Habakkuk, Habakkuk, Habakkuk. Any of those will work. Habakkuk is how I usually say it. Zephaniah, Haggai, right? Zechariah, Malachi, not Malachi, Malachi. There you go. So those are the 12. Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Easy as pie, right? The Gospels and Acts is next. Lots of people have an easy time with this one. Many people know it already. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and Acts. And those are the 5. You could call them New Testament history if you wanted. Okay, moving on to the next. This is the big chunk, right? There's 22 letters. So as these kind of scroll out, you can see we can put them in 2 columns of 11. And that makes 22 letters in the New Testament. So we're going to break these down into groups and show you a little bit how these are organized. So here are the letters. We have the Pauline epistles and the general epistles. Epistles is a fancy word for letters. Pauline is a fancy word for Paul's letters, right? So Pauline epistles just means Paul's letters. So let's look at the Pauline epistles. So Romans and 1st and 2nd Corinthians. Now, why are these after the book of Acts? Because after Acts comes the letters to congregations, and then they're in order of size. For Paul's letters are in order of size. So Romans and 1 Corinthians are the 2 longest ones. 2 Corinthians is next, right? So Romans and 1st and 2nd Corinthians. Next, we have what we call the prison epistles. That's Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians. There's another book included with these just for technical purposes. You can just remember Philemon goes with these if you'd like, but it doesn't come in the order because Philemon is the smallest book. So Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians. Now I got a little trick that I always use to keep these in order because they can easily mix these up. And I must have learned it long ago in Bible college or something, or maybe it was just in church. Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, General Electric Power Company. So General Electric Power Company, I can remember that pretty easy. It makes sense in English. And I can use those first letters to remember the order: Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians. Next, we have 5 T's in a row. So I know after Colossians, the 5 T's are coming. That's 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, and Titus. So the reason that I have those separated there is because then we know that those 1st and 2nd Timothy and Titus are the pastoral epistles, or letters given to congregational leaders. Paul is giving them information of how to properly conduct a congregation. And then finally, like I said before, at the last comes Philemon. So in order, all of this half is Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus, then wrapping it up with Philemon. Next, we move to the general epistles. First, we have the largest one, to the Jews. It's Hebrews. Hebrews comes next. After Hebrews, we have James, the brother of Jesus. Quite possibly one of the most important figures in for early believers is James, the brother of Jesus. His real name is Jacob. If you read in the Greek, it says Yaakov, which is Jacob, but in English we have him as James. Next we have Peter, the 1st and 2nd Peter. And this, of course, Jesus' number 1 disciple. Next we have the beloved disciple of Jesus, John, also the writer of the Gospel of John. So John is the next most prolific writer next to Paul, because he wrote the Gospel of John, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, and then he also wrote Revelation, which is at the end. After 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, and it's nice that they're all J's, we have the brother of Jesus again. This time it's Judas. Yeah, Judah, more likely. But Jude is how we have him in English, the brother of Jesus. Then finally, we have Revelation. That is the book of prophecies. So Hebrew, James, and then these two are pretty easy as far as remembering for me, because 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John. That's 5 books, 2 names, easy. I know Jude and Revelation are coming at the end. So after Philemon, I don't have very much left to kind of memorize. I just have to know that Hebrews comes next and James. Then 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, Jude, and Revelation. Once you know that these books are typically ordered from the longer to the smaller, with the exception of Revelation there at the end, then you kind of are able to know that Hebrews comes before James. Well, I've spent quite a bit of time on this, but hopefully that'll help you. The New Testament is kind of a large one to do, but once you're in there a lot, once you're reading it a lot, it becomes easier. Now that we've gone over everything, let's review. Above are the major categories of Scripture: the law, the history, the writings, prophets, the 12, the Gospels and Acts, and then the letters to congregations. The law has 5: Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. Books of history: Joshua, Judges, Ruth, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther. Writings: Job, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Songs. Prophets: Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel. The 12: Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. Next, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, and Acts, and then 22 letters: Romans, 1st and 2nd Corinthians, Galatians, Ephesians, Philippians, Colossians, 1st and 2nd Thessalonians, 1st and 2nd Timothy, Titus, Philemon, Hebrews, James, 1st and 2nd Peter, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd John, Jude, and Revelation.